The opinions expressed in the following program are those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect those of Rogers or Rogers TV.
Hi everyone, my name's Don Pittman and welcome to this debate for the Oshawa-Whitby by-election. We're here at the Whitby City Council, Town Council I guess it is, in the chambers here. I've never been in here, it's quite a nice place. We have candidates up at the front. I have a whole list of questions here. I want to make sure that everybody understands the format of the meeting, so I'll go through that right now. This isn't what I would call a formal debate, which I've done before. This is more of a Q&A, but we're going to make sure that everybody gets their turn at bat. Each candidate will be given a 2-minute opening statement. We'll go through questions from the floor. I have questions from the floor and from the Whitby Chamber, and I'm going to actually alternate back and forth. Each question will garner a response. People can put their hand up if they want to answer first, or I'll just pick on somebody and we'll just make sure that it's in an orderly fashion. Each candidate will have an opportunity to answer that question, but we need to keep it to 1 minute. My timekeeper is right up the front here. He has 2 cards. He has a yellow one and he has a red one, and I believe that the yellow card goes off at 10 seconds before the end, and the red card goes off when you stop. And your microphone may mysteriously go dead if you see the red card and you're still talking, or you may drop through the trap floor in the floor. So you have to be careful about that. We want to keep this to about 2 hours. We're looking at about a 2-hour session here, and we're hoping we can do that. And then each candidate, as I said, will have an opportunity to basically close off with a 2-minute statement as well. Now, there was a draw just before we started as to who gets to talk first, who gets to open up, and that draw I have in front of me here. I would like to thank the Whitby Chamber of Commerce for pulling this all together. It's a great opportunity for people in the community and business leaders to come and hear what the candidates have to say. So the order is, I guess, Nikki Lindquist from the NDP party first. Nikki, you have the floor for 2 minutes. So, Mr. Timer, here we go.
Lucky number 1. Thank you. My name is Nikki Lundquist, and it's actually a real pleasure to be here and have this opportunity to talk to you about issues that matter in this community. I appreciate the Chamber hosting this because it's something that's really valuable. As most of you probably know, I have not spent my career as a politician. I am a human rights and labor lawyer, and I spend my career fighting for people and fighting on issues that I think are really important. But I'm speaking to you tonight as someone who lives in this community, somebody who is tired of this Liberal government and the things that it isn't doing for us. This by-election is an interesting opportunity. We have an opportunity really to send this government a very, very clear message. And the message is simple. It's that we deserve better than what we're getting. And I say this with the most respect for Mr. Coe. Sending another Conservative to Queen's Park doesn't send any message at all. All it does is tell us that it's status quo here in Whitby. Everything's just fine. And the reality is things are not fine. Things are not okay here in Whitby. I've been knocking on doors since, well, before the election was called, and things are decidedly not fine with people. The sell-off of hydro is a colossal blunder. We can't and we shouldn't pretend that it's business as usual in this community. Kathleen Wynne and her Liberals have never asked us if we're okay with the sell-off of hydro. They have never consulted us to say, do you want us to sell this public good? And the answer is, we don't. Kathleen Wynne's candidate, Ms. Roy, was invited to debate the Ontario's decision to sell off hydro next week, and she's refused to attend. And tonight I'm asking Ms. Roy to please do the right thing and participate. Well, if I'm wrong, you can correct me, because I think that's frankly what her party should be doing. They're taking something that belongs to all of us, and we should have an opportunity to hold them to the fire on that.
Thank you, Nikki. That's 2 minutes. Thank you very much. Next speaker is Elizabeth Roy.
Hi, good evening, everyone. I'm Elizabeth Roy. I want to start out by thanking the Whitby Chamber of Commerce for organizing this event and all of you for being here tonight. Forums like this are critical to our democracy, and I'm honored to be a part of it. I've lived in Whitby with my husband for more than 20 years. I've raised my three children here. I'm a healthcare provider at the Durham Regional Cancer Center. I've served as a school board trustee and a chair. I've been a town councillor and a regional councillor, and I'm a dedicated volunteer for local causes. I know Whitby-Oshawa, and I know we are caring and progressive people. We want the best for others, and we want to leave behind a safe, healthy community for our children and grandchildren. Those are the values Christine Elliott took to Queen's Park on our behalf. And I know a lot of our community members were very disappointed in the Conservatives that Christine was an elected leader. Instead, they chose someone who wants to fight the old fights to the Stephen Harper Conservatives. I've been knocking on a lot of doors, and I know that's not what people of Whitby-Oshawa are looking for. They want a compassionate and progressive MPP, and they want someone with a plan. The Liberal plan is creating good local jobs and building up the economy. Our plan will continue to expand GO train service, build the next phase of the 407, protect our clean air and water, and ensure Ontarians can retire securely. The other parties will try to scare you into believing the province is falling apart. But the fact is, Ontario is the country's fastest growing economy, and we have more than 500,000 new jobs since the recession. There is always more work to do, but our plan is working and our province is getting stronger and more prosperous each day. Whitby-Oshawa deserves to have a voice at the table of the Liberal government, a voice that is reasonable and progressive, and that reflects the spirit of this great community. And that's what I can deliver. And to Ms. Lundquist, not cross-debating, I just want to say that the invite I have not refused.
Okay, time's up. Thank you very much. Okay, the PC candidate, Mr. Lorne Coe.
Well, thank you very much for having me here tonight. My name is Lorne Coe, and my family and I have called Whitby home for more than 30 years. And for the past 13 years, I've been proud to serve the people of Whitby and Durham region as their councillor, and this has been supplemented by more than 30 years of practical experience in the private and public sector, particularly as a civil servant at Queen's Park. I'm honored that I received Christine Elliott's strong support and endorsement in my bid to become the Ontario PC candidate for Whitby-Oshawa. And I'm running as the Ontario PC candidate to continue the legacy of advocacy and strong representation that we saw under the late Jim Flaherty and Christine Elliott. Whitby-Oshawa is a place of great opportunity. GM's Oshawa production plants are key sites and major employers for the GTA. Schools such as Durham College, the University of Ontario Institute of Technology, and Trent University are providing young adults with the skills needed for the jobs of today and tomorrow. But unfortunately, we continue to see examples of how bad Liberal policies have impacted families and businesses every single day. Soaring energy rates are causing companies to shut down and move to other jurisdictions, and families continue to struggle to pay their hydro bills. Congested roads are preventing people and products from moving efficiently and dragging down our economy and spending more time in a car than at home with their loved ones. And Liberal waste and mismanagement has meant the Liberals are cutting health care funding at the expense of patient care. Life is harder under the Liberals, and we can do better. Progressive Conservatives believe that good government is about honesty, compassion, trust, and good judgment. Over the course of this evening, I look forward to sharing with you more about my vision for Ontario in this riding.
Thank you, Mr.
That
Coe.
works for you again.
Thank you. And last but not least, Stacey Ledbetter from the Green Party. Stacey?
Thank you. My name is Stacey Ledbetter, and I am your Green Party of Ontario representative. I want to thank you all for coming out tonight, and I want to thank the Chamber for putting on this forum, and for the town of Whitby for hosting us here this evening. I am a longtime Whitby resident. I've been here over 25 years. I raised my children here, and they in turn have made Whitby their home as well. It's a lovely place to be. It's a warm community, it's a giving, and it's a caring community. But there's so much more we can be here in Whitby. We're turning into a typical bedroom community with no jobs or industry here for our youth and for people to not make that commute. And I made that commute for about 27 years. So I know what it's like to be a GO train, what my kids used to call a GO train widow. This is an interesting by-election. While there are large shoes to fill, Christine Elliott was a dynamic and compassionate individual. The outcome of this by-election will have no real impact on the legislature in Ontario, but it will have a huge impact here in Whitby. I'm here to present to you someone who's going to work for you. I'm not going to be another backbencher. I'm not going to be someone who just has to toe the party line and do as they're told. I will have a voice. And as many of you know, I can have a very loud voice when it's required. As a Green Party MPP, I will be given specific speaking times within the legislature. The chances of any of these three being able to ask a question in the legislature is very slim. Ms. Roy is not going to be in cabinet. They may be in shadow cabinets for Mr. Coe and Ms. Lindquist, but they're not going to have as much opportunity as I will to put our voice forward. So on February 11th, I'm asking you to be bold. I'm asking you to take a chance and go green. Thank
you, Stacey. That's excellent. Oh. Okay, now we're moving on to the question and answer period here. I think I'll start this alphabetical. Just a reminder that these questions, the answers are 1 minute long, and a minute is very quick. So you just have to really make sure that you don't run on. For those of you who don't know me, I spent a lot of years in the hydro world, and it just so happens that the very first question that's on the top of the list from the floor here says, for 99 years, Ontario enjoyed power at cost. What is your party's position on that issue? And I'll start with Mr. Lauren Coe.
Well, this debate is about the future of the province, about the direction we're heading. We have a new leader, and we're making sure we do what's best for the province. We don't support the fire sale of Hydro One at all, and certainly over 80% of the population in Ontario, and in particular in this riding, did not support the sale. And furthermore, 194 municipalities, including Whitby and Oshawa, did not support the sale overall as well. When this resolution came forward to Whitby Town Council, I supported the resolution, but my Liberal colleague did not.
Okay, thank you very much. And we'll just move down the table. I think Stacey Ledbetter from the Green Party, if you'd like to answer, you can.
I would like to answer. The Green Party is very much opposed to the sale of Hydro One. This is a horrible way to try and fund what you want to do. We went through this in the 90s with the Conservatives. They made an attempt to privatize hydro. It didn't work, and they had to bring it back into the public domain. We're still paying off the debt from that. It's still that debt retirement charge on your hydro bill. There are better ways, cheaper ways, better alternatives to generating power and to making things work in Ontario. We can buy power from Quebec at less than half the cost that they want to spend on Darlington. And that can go for 10 years. These are things that we have to consider. It's not always how much you're spending, but how you're spending it and how you're getting that money. The sale of Hydro One must be stopped. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Moving down the table to Nikki. Go ahead.
I'm delighted to agree with both of my colleagues and find myself somewhat surprised to be agreeing with a Conservative on this issue, but delighted nonetheless. You know, the sale of hydro is, I think, the biggest mistake this province has ever made, and we've made some tremendous mistakes. Hydro prices are already far, far higher than they should be, and we can see that it's having a negative economic impact on jobs and on the economy, and that's a problem. But it's a problem for real people too. You know, I've spoken to people who are turning off their heat in their houses because they can't afford their hydro bills. I've spoken to a family who sits at McDonald's during peak energy hours because they can't afford the bills that they have to pay. The bills are going to go up when we sell hydro. There is no question about it, and we will end up in worse debt because the money will be gone. It will come out of our revenues, and we will not have the money we need for healthcare, for education, and all of the things we care about.
Okay, thank you very much. And Elizabeth Roy, your response.
Can you reread that question,
I can.
please?
I hit it, but just a sec here. It says, for 99 years, Ontario enjoyed public power at cost. What is your party's position on this?
So the question you asked is that the power is at cost, enjoyed power at cost.
Yeah.
So you're talking about the rates of power, of energy. So I just want to give highlight here that locally within Whitby, we are our own provider of hydro here. And the Ontario Energy Board is the controller of the setting of the rates. Now, just reflecting back to the answers from the three individuals, the three other parties, we're looking at maximizing the value of assets. We're looking at the creation of jobs. We're looking at investing within our community and across the province of how we can bring investment and jobs to our community. And over the next 10 years, we're looking at $134 billion that is going to be invested, 110,000 jobs per year, which is something that we are all hearing at the door, is the need for jobs. And this is about investing back into our community.
Okay, thank you very much. Any responses down the table to any discussion? Okay, Stacey, go ahead.
When we sell hydro, it's going to, there's the potential to double or triple the cost of hydro to the general user. It's killing businesses, it's killing industry. We have to maintain those costs at an affordable level, 3 to 4 cents a kilowatt. That's where we have to be competitive. Right now, our dollar's low. That's helping some of our manufacturing that are doing exporting. But there are companies that can't afford to pay their workers because they've got huge hydro bills. That has to be brought under control. Turning over 60% of control to Hydro One is not going to do that. And there are easier ways to create jobs. You can spend half that $13 billion on buying power from Quebec and the other half on healthcare and infrastructure and job creation and still have money left over. This is not the way to go.
Okay, thanks, Stacey. Okay, on these responses, I think we'll just go with 30 seconds just to be fair, just so we keep things moving along. Would you like to move on to the next question? Yes, okay. All right, this one is actually from the Whitby Chamber of Commerce. It's one that a group of people at the Chamber put together. In a policy written by the Whitby Chamber of Commerce, put forward through the Ontario Chamber, we identified solutions to help reduce red tape using options identified in the existing Municipal Act. We suggest the province make money available for pilot projects with local chambers and boards of trades to work directly with municipalities to alleviate the burden on business. What efforts will you take to create a better business climate in Whitby? And Stacey, I think we'll just move down the table and we'll start with you if you're okay with that.
I am. The Green Party of Ontario, majority of our members are small business owners. So they know what it's like to try and start a business and get people going and get successful and get your employees on board. Trying to do a startup business in Ontario can take you 3 to 5 years. We have a shining example here in Whitby, Brock Street Brewery. Look at what they've gone through to get established here. Green Party would definitely work with the local municipalities and the chambers to start pilot projects, to start ongoing projects with the Durham College, with UIT, and with Trent. We have lots of opportunities here. There are a lot of things that we can all do together, and we need to eliminate a lot of the restrictions and the licensing that the province is imposing. It's a money grab. The more licensing you have, the more money you get. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Nikki, on to you.
You know, I think that one of the things we have to remember is that small businesses are actually the economic drivers of our economy. They are the job creators. It's not large corporations anymore, it's small businesses. And we absolutely need to create a climate where small businesses will be able to operate without bureaucratic, Byzantine structure. And so when you say, will we work with the chamber and with small businesses in the region, the answer is of course we will. And anybody who says that they wouldn't would be making a really foolish decision. It's an interesting issue because it seems to me that the answer to our worst economic problems is sitting right before us. And if we don't address the issue of red tape, then we're going to really lose opportunities to create what we need here in this region.
Okay, that's great. Thanks very much. And optimum audio is probably about 6 inches from the mic, just so if you folks are hearing popping in the audience there, that's we'll work on that for you. Elizabeth, you're next.
Thank you very much. And this has been something that has been in front of us, even at municipally and regionally, to be addressing as well, too. 75% of businesses within our community are small businesses, and the ability to work through the red tape, but also that ability to have had the input into the changing of the Municipal Act is something that the government had commenced. We are also looking at the red tape, and we're looking at ways to work with businesses and chambers to ensure that we can assist and to help with our economic growth to enable individuals to start up their businesses in the community. We're also looking at investment into youth job strategies as well. So it's an additional investment, especially within our local region, that we need to be continuing to move forward with.
Okay, thank you very much. Lauren, do you need the question reread? It's kind of gone down the table, so you're okay with the question? Sure,
Thank you.
In a policy written by the Whitby Chamber of Commerce put forward through the Ontario Chamber, we identified solutions to help reduce red tape using options identified in the existing Municipal Act. We suggest the province make money available for pilot projects with local chambers and boards of trade to work directly with municipalities to alleviate the burden on business. What efforts will you take to create a better business climate in Whitby?
Well, thank you for the question. As the mayor's representative on the board of directors for the Whitby Chamber of Commerce, I certainly support the initiative of the policy and the content and the direction of it, because it aligns with certainly the direction of the Ontario Progressive Conservative Party in putting in place the right conditions for small businesses to succeed. Amazingly, over the last 12 years the Liberal government's been in power, they've put in place 350,000 regulations. 350,000 regulations, which in my view impede the opportunity for success of small business, particularly here in Whitby. One of the subsets of the outcome of the policy paper is initiatives that we've undertaken here at the town of Whitby, particularly in our planning and development area, to try to streamline the business approval processes in the town, but similarly it aligns with some of the other initiatives underway with the region of Durham as well.
That's good. Thank you, Lauren. Okay, moving down the table to Nikki on this next one. I'll pull one off here. Let's see what we have here. So many questions. Okay, I am a widow with no pension, and I will either have to sell my home or find a renter. What are you prepared to do so my children and grandchildren are not in the same situation? So, Nikki, we'll start off with you.
Thank you. That's a terrible situation, and it's an increasingly frequent, concern that we hear from people. I think part of the problem is that, we have not planned well for our seniors. We haven't planned well for creating economic security in our futures, and we have to do that. We need to create jobs in our economy that are better than the jobs that are being created, frankly. We have precarious, low-skilled, it's not even low-skilled, we have precarious contract work. We have jobs where people don't have security. They're not going to have the things that we had, and we already know that that's not enough for many, So we need to do things like have pension plan increases. We need to plan for a future. If we don't make a change, if we don't make it now, if we don't do what's difficult today, then we mortgage our future for our children. We've been doing that for a long time here, and it's time to end that.
Okay, thank you very much. Elizabeth Roy.
Thank you very much. And this has been a conversation that's been had, not only what I do professionally, but also out while we have been knocking doors. And the issue, there's two issues here. So the issue with the senior and being able to afford. We will be presenting a housing strategy that will give assistance. And I know it's very difficult for seniors to move from their current home to their other homes, but presently at the region of Durham, there has been assistance that has been helping for those, especially in apartments, to, instead of moving out of their apartments, to assist and do offset with their the rent. But the other component is talking about the security of the future for our young and for our children, our grandchildren, and that's specifically why the pension plan has been set into place. The announcement even further today by the Premier is one that we need to be looking at the security for our future. We need to be looking at the ability that 2 out of 3 people don't have a pension plan.
Okay, Elizabeth, thank you very much. Just remember, 1 minute goes very, very quickly. Lauren Coe, please, your answer.
Well, the circumstances that you describe in your question is one of the significant challenges that we have in Whitby-Oshawa. And to that extent, I've led the development at the region of Durham through as the chair of Health and Social Services Committee of Development of a 10-year housing plan that specifically is targeted for seniors and provides the types of supports that they will need to succeed. But this is clearly lacking in the case of the province of Ontario because their affordable housing strategy has failed that segment of our community, seniors in particular. And it's further compounded by the failure also of their senior strategy, which they failed to consult on adequately. So taken together, seniors is simply not a priority for the Liberal government.
Okay, thank you very much. Stacey Ledbetter, the Green Party.
Thank you. It has astounded me over the past decade to hear so many politicians talk about, oh my goodness, the population is aging. People are getting older. The baby boomers have been the single most powerful consumer force since the 50s. Why were we all caught off guard that they were going to age and that things would need to be in place? This is poor planning on successive Liberal and Conservative governments' part. These things should have been thought about 30 years ago. And now we have people like this woman. I'm similar to this woman. I'm a single parent, no pension, and I've recently had to sell my house because things have gotten to the point where I can't afford to keep it. I know what this feels like. There is nothing in place in Durham. Housing is a 4-year wait. The rental rate is less than 1%. There's so much more that can be done.
Okay, Stacey, thank you very much. Okay, interestingly enough, this is the next question from the Chamber that just came to the top of the pile. The introduction of the Ontario Registered Pension Plan, the ORPP, scheduled for January 2017, would see Whitby businesses absorb a new cost, putting them at a disadvantage relative to their counterparts in other provinces. In solidarity with the Ontario Chamber of Commerce, Whitby urges the provincial government to focus efforts on working with the federal government to enhance the existing Canada Pension Plan. What do you propose to do about the Ontario Retirement Pension Plan and the negative impact it will have for businesses of all sizes in Whitby? And Elizabeth, that is your question.
Thank you very much. And again, this is talking about the security of our future. This is one that, yes, there's an ability to be having dialogue with our federal government, but again, the bringing of all our provinces together is one that we all have to have a consensus. We are bringing together a pension plan that is going to be supporting our future. 2 out of 3 people do not have a pension. That's appalling. I could say at this table, and Stacey has already mentioned she doesn't have one, but I'm going to say that majority of us here have a pension or are on a pension. We're lucky. We have a pension. So we need to be working with our future to not be able to retire at the age of 65, but to have to continue into a job until you're 75 or so. And this was a conversation I had even today with a resident. They're also taking the jobs away from our youth. Having to have to stay within a job until you're past your retirement age, we need to make sure that for the security of our future, we have pensions in place.
Okay, thank you very much. So I'm going to go way down the other end of the table, and Lauren, your answer, please.
Well, thank you very much. And this is really about competitiveness, isn't it? We have an unprecedented situation where over 150 chambers of commerce and major employers wrote to the government. They wrote to the government to highlight the negative impact that the plan would have on competitiveness. This is another example of the Liberal government not listening to people who have expert opinion. When you have the energy prices that aren't competitive, when you have red tape, it harms business. It harms business. The Ontario Retirement Pension Plan only makes matters worse and creates more uncertainty at a time when companies and small businesses in this riding need stability in order to invest. We should be focused on making it easier for families and businesses in Ontario, not harder. And this plan makes it harder.
Okay, thank you very much. And Stacey, your answer, please.
I would echo some of the things that Mr. Coe said. Burdening the backbone of our economy with a further taxation, which essentially this is, it's another payroll tax, is the wrong move in this economy. We heard all in the federal election how Justin Trudeau was going to work with Kathleen Wynne to not have an Ontario registered pension plan. And here we're a year away from launch. This is not something that small businesses can do. They're already hit. Hydro costs are going up. Taxes are going up, and now they're going to have another payroll tax. Canada Pension was put in place to cover this sort of thing, and the old age security. These are the things that we can build on already. Creating another pension, another layer of tax is not going to help our economy, and it's not going to help the people and the most who need the most here in Ontario and here in Whitby-Oshawa.
All right, thank you very much. And Nikki, your answer, please.
Well, Mr. Coe and I were going to have to part ways at some point, so it might as well be now. Income security for seniors is not red tape. It is about dignity. It's about aging with some security and an adequate retirement income. And so I understand that in the short term, this is a concern for businesses. I understand that absolutely. But when you look at the medium and long term, what you get are more consumers in your area who are spending money in local businesses. We have to stop taking short-term approaches to these things. We have to look at the big picture here. And the big picture says, in the long run, the pension plan is good for business and it's good for jobs. I understand that the CPP is a better alternative. I agree with that 100%, but absent that, we have to do something. We have an aging demographic and they need income security.
Okay, go ahead.
I would just like to comment further, first of all, and it's great to hear from the NDP with the approach that they have supported. But the other component is I'm not hearing from the other parties their plan. I'm not hearing how we are going to resolve the issues of what has been identified as a need for some time. I need to know what their plan is. I hear just going back at what the current government is doing. What is the plan from the other parties?
Okay, that's 30 seconds. Okay, Stacey, a 30-second response. Go ahead.
Okay, we were told during the federal campaign that our province was going to work with the feds to improve the CPP. So that's no longer the plan. So we were lied to?
I don't know. Would you like to respond to that?
Absolutely,
Okay,
I'd like to
go
respond
ahead.
too, and the ability to work, and the answer is no, you were not lied to. Right now, we need to move forward to set into place a long-term plan. The ability to work with all the provinces, it will take too long to set into place a plan that is needed to support those who need the security, who need to have a pension, and to be able to set into place a full-out plan. I don't know what anybody else's plan is. I'm not hearing a plan for anybody else.
Okay, I'll come to you, Nikki, but Mr. Coe had an answer there first. Go ahead, Lauren.
Well, thank you. I think what we're hearing is, again, a lot of rhetoric, but very short on details. The plan remains a huge new payroll tax that will force businesses to cut jobs and will reduce the take-home pay of workers and their families. That's what it's about.
Okay, Nikki, go ahead.
It's interesting because I'm back in agreement with Mr. Coe. So,
Welcome to politics.
I know, it's a really interesting place to be, honestly. I just want to reiterate that I'm of the same view. Ms. Roy says the government's plan, but that plan is devoid of all detail. And so we don't really know what we're talking about. And that seems to be a pretty consistent theme with this government.
Okay, thank you very much. Any other comments, or shall we move on to the next question? Move on to the next question, okay. Spirited discussion, you got to like that. You think we were talking about the hydro? Okay, here's one from the audience. It says, we've heard more recently about the gender-based wage gap. What are your feelings on it, and what does your party plan to do to change that? And Lauren Coe, that's your question to start with.
Well, I'm certainly not an expert in that particular area, but certainly there's several experts in that field which we will be consulting on regularly to gather that information. And once we have that information, we'll be taking that and collecting it to our policy forums, one of which is taking place in March of this year.
Okay, thank you very much. Stacey, go ahead.
Every woman who works in Ontario is an expert in this area. I've worked alongside men who had half my experience and made 30% more. It's something that the Green Party takes to heart, and Green Party is for, and I am for, and very much for, paying the same rate for the same work for the same job, regardless of gender. What you bring to the party as far as your part's concerned should not dictate what you should get paid. Women work hard in this community. We work long hours. We often do double duty with either children or aging parents, and it's time that we got paid. Not close to what we're worth, but at least close to what the men are getting paid. Thank you.
All right. Okay, thank you very much. Go ahead, Nikki.
I, too, am somewhat expert on this particular topic. There is no question that there's a gender wage gap. We make proportionately less for the same work, generally speaking, than men do. And I am delighted that we're finally recognizing it and shining a light on this problem. It astounds me in the work I do every day how really reticent we are to acknowledge that women are still paid far less, that we do. I was going to say far more, but that might be slightly confrontational. But that we contribute significantly in similar ways, and our work is not valued in the same way. And so when we talk about a gender wage gap, we actually have to talk about not just the same work, but work of similar value. And that's what's missing from this discussion, and it's a place that we all have to, we're going to have to turn our minds to that issue, because until we do, women will not have equality in their workplaces.
Okay, thanks very much. Elizabeth, go ahead.
It's a great question, and it's one that I think the last three of us have experienced throughout our lives, and it is one that we do need to be having that dialogue and to be going forward, and with this government willing to be looking at this issue and to have discussions about it and to address it. I know that, so just with Nikki's background as well, too, with being a labor lawyer, I've also been a representative with the Ontario Nurses Association, and truly understand what the disadvantage of wage parity has been across within our profession in healthcare, but not only within that, but also collectively within other agencies that I have been a representative of as well, too. And it's a dialogue that needs to be going forward more and more.
Okay, thank you very much. Any other comments? Oh, you see, it works. You just have to wave at me. Go ahead, Stacey.
I just want to sort of comment, this isn't new, this gender-based wage gap. I mean, pay equity has been a discussion we've been having since the 80s. And the fact that we're still discussing it and not doing anything indicates that we need somebody with a very big mouth to stand up and say something about it more in the legislature. We need to take action. We need to stop talking and start doing.
Just a question. Is the author of that question in the audience still? I'm just wondering if they worked in private sector or government. Not here. Either that or not going to talk. Yeah, okay. I just, it's interesting you say that, because I used to work at a utility, and you're right, we went through pay equity, and I mean, there was a huge adjustment back in I guess it was the early 80s, and it was all government mandated, but here we are talking about the question 20 years later. Go ahead, Nikki. Yeah.
So we're going to keep talking about that question, and we should keep talking about that question, because what happened in the private sector didn't mirror what happened in the public sector. We still have a tremendous gap.
That was kind of the driver of the question. So, okay, Nikki, thanks. All right, we're on to the next question here, and this one is through the Whitby Chamber of Commerce. It says, His Worship Mayor Mitchell and Council have identified several priorities for Whitby put before the provincial government in the pre-budget consultations. These initiatives require the support of the government to work in partnership with the municipality. How do you propose to help accomplish the town of Whitby's priorities? And that is, Stacey, that's your question to start with.
We all received this wonderful plan. I don't know if many of you have seen it as part of this debate. It's certainly something that we need to work with not only the province, but with the private sector as well. There's the opportunity here to do so much more with our community. I don't know what your response has been from the province, and I would very much be interested to see what they're going to say. My only concern is that we're putting a large emphasis on a very small area of town. And I'm worried, I hear from people down in the Port of Whitby in that area now that they already find the traffic difficult to deal with. They find the noise difficult to deal with. So I want to make sure that this is something that everybody in Whitby signs on to, and that we're all on the same page, and that when the province comes in, if they do, we don't know, that we do bring private sector in as well, because private-public partnerships are really the best way to go. Thank you.
Okay. And moving down the line to Nikki. Go ahead, Nikki.
So, there is no question that there need to be partnerships between government and private organizations, educational institutions. All of that is going to be necessary to create a hub in Whitby that, is going to be responsive to the needs of this community. A plan for transit is important. There's a discussion about D-Lab over by Durham College, and it's a really, really interesting, exciting opportunity to really create both jobs and transit and create a community over there that will respond to people's needs for both education and work. I absolutely would support those kinds of initiatives. I don't think that any responsible leader in this community would say otherwise. We need that kind of support.
Okay. Thanks, Nikki. Elizabeth, down to you.
Thank you very much. And like all parents in our community, I want my 3 children to have the opportunity to build their lives here in the community if they choose so. That is tied very closely to the priorities laid out by the town of Whitby as well. The job creation, the development of the employment lands, the public transit, these are all priorities that this Liberal government also shares. And we're focusing on partnering with the municipalities, which is something that we have had dialogue both at the regional level, local level, to the province. The infrastructure is the foundation of a strong community, and that is why we are committed to ensuring every region of the province can realize its full potential as a place everyone can flourish. We're investing $134 billion into the bridges, roads, and transit, and hospitals and schools. And the area that Stacey is speaking about, Ms. Ledbetter is speaking about, is down at the waterfront. It's called the Pump House. I've sat on the LAC Act committee, and recently we have received federal funding to support the revitalization of that building. To be able to go forward and commit, I would be willing to do so as well.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, Lauren Coe, your answer, sir.
Well, thank you. As a regional councillor, but also as the chair of the Planning and Development Committee at the town, I'm well familiar with this initiative, and also as the mayor's representative on the board at the chamber. So certainly I support the initiative because of its job creation, because also it's alignment with what we as a town can be and should be in terms of livability, and also in terms of putting in place transportation corridors that are needed, and also underpinning that is the opportunity for public-private partnerships, which will allow this particular community and riding to not only focus on job creation, but also making the town of Whitby a more livable place for families to succeed once again.
Okay, thank you very much. Any other discussion up and down the table? None. All right. Okay, I'll move on to the next question. And actually, this question is coming to Nikki. And this is a question that came up in the pile, and I'll do the best I can with it because it's a medical term, and I may have to, I think it was Jonathan that I spoke with at the beginning of the program. I may have to ask some help in that. So I'll read the question. Jonathan, what is are you here, Jonathan? Put your hand up. What is the name of the actual disease? Phenylketonuria. Okay, I'll call it PKU. All right. PKU patients across Ontario are continually frustrated with the Ontario Liberals' abandonment on the issue of gaining access to Kuvan, the first drug therapy for PKU, a rare disease affecting the brain. What steps do you plan to take to ensure that PKU patients in your riding of Whitby-Oshawa gain access to this life-altering medication? Probably the broader question, there's one question here, the broader question is, how does the government plan, or how would you plan to deal with medications that are incredibly expensive but are effective? So Nikki, go ahead.
So I'm going to go with PKU too, because I know next to nothing about the disease, and I apologize for that. I will certainly read a little bit more about it, because what we get with rare diseases is that we don't know what we need to know. But I do know this. I know that every person who requires medication should get that medication. And although it's certainly a federal issue in terms of creating a national pharmacare program, it's something that our province shouldn't ignore. There is absolutely no excuse for people to not receive, life-saving medication. I don't know how to make it more complicated than that.
Okay. Elizabeth, go ahead.
Thank you. I'm also not having the background with that as well too, but just knowing that through my personal experience of what I do within cancer care, that there are other programs to help to support, but your identification of not being able to have it paid, I'd have to do the research to find out, because I know that we always try to find, especially within healthcare, means, whether it's through the Trillium Drug Plan or if there's other means of even through the support through studies that we do, there's always an ability to find a way to support. And the answer for you right now is that just being able to be that voice, to find ways and means to have that support would be my commitment.
Okay, thank you. And Mr. Coe?
Thank you. And to that question, I'd like to obtain a little bit more detail about why and how long it's been in terms of access, because there's particular protocols. Having worked at the Ministry of Health and Long-Term Care, there's protocols in terms of the types of requests that come in and for the access of medication. But clearly, if you've been waiting as long as you suggest you've been waiting, it's not appropriate. And I think it's a function of the type of cutbacks that have occurred in the healthcare budget. Some $54 million was removed from the healthcare budget last year. That's 1.2%. It's affected all aspects of healthcare access, including access to drugs that individuals like yourself require.
All right, thank you. Go ahead, Steve.
I've actually helped work with an individual who approached me because their child had a very rare genetic disorder that only it's like 1 in 1.8 million in the population get it, and the drug that they required was around $50,000 a year. And there was no manufacture of the drug in Canada, so it had to be imported. And we did find some mechanisms for doing that, but I understand where you're coming from. I spent 6 months on the phone and writing letters to find a way to get that drug for that family at a cost of only $10,000 a year. Still horrible, but manageable. And I agree with Nikki. If someone needs a medication, and we saw this in the 80s with AIDS medication, it has to be provided. But if it's a matter of life and death, there's no question it must be provided. That family needs to be helped as much as they can be. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Stacey. Nikki, you had a comment?
I did, and it's actually in response to something that Ms. Roy said. She said, there's always a way to find support, and that's absolutely not true. I have a chronic illness, and it's not even a rare one. You know, I have Crohn's disease, and many, many people have that now. There are drugs that I can't afford, and I have a great job. You know, there are things like Remicade that are on the market for years and years and years, and we can't access them. So pretending that we can is absolutely a wrong impression that we shouldn't be leaving with people.
Elizabeth, go ahead.
I think the commitment to healthcare has been one that over the past years has been improved upon. But I think we also need to talk about the partnerships from our federal level and the lack of transfers coming to the Ontario within healthcare as well too. But the other highlight that needs to be given is the recognition that we need to highlight is the patient ombudsman that has been set into place just recently with Christine Elliott. And I think it is one that will be able to help to support to look at how things can happen within healthcare.
Okay, thank you. And folks in the audience, if you could just, if you need to transfer information back and forth, if you could just whisper. It's quite a din up here. It bounces off the ceiling, and it may affect how people hear up here. So, Lauren Coe, did you have a comment there? I think you did.
Well, with respect to healthcare, it's not about transfers. It's a matter about making choices and what your priorities are. What's not best for the province is having 800,000 Ontarians without a family doctor. And what's not best is cutting $850 million in funding to doctors or freezing hospital budgets. It's about choices.
Okay, thanks, Mr. Coe. Okay, Elizabeth, go ahead.
Let's talk about closing 28 hospitals. Let's talk about closing Whitby Hospital. Let's talk about firing 6,000 nurses. Let's talk about the Mike Harris days when I worked in healthcare and you cut our jobs. Let's talk about 1 year ago that during the provincial election, your government wanted to cut 100,000 jobs.
This is the time when I have to step in and say, let's keep our eye on the ball about what the question was about. It starts to slide sideways. So I think, go ahead, Stacey. I'll let you have the last word.
I just wanted to comment about the feds and pharmacare. There's no reason why we can't take some of the billions we're throwing around at nuclear to have a provincial pharmacare. We don't have to wait for Justin Trudeau. We can do this ourselves. We're grown-ups.
All right, thank you very much. We'll move on to the next question. Elizabeth, this is your question coming your way. Does anybody need to fill their water up or anything? I see Stacey is there, and I did mine as well, so you go right ahead. I've been quietly filling mine up as we go here. All right, question. As housing prices have increased in the past number of years in Toronto, more and more families are turning to Durham to raise their families. Whitby-Oshawa is home to a large number of professionals who commute into Toronto each day for work. As a result, trains are regularly standing room only. If elected, will you advocate at Queen's Park to reduce congestion on trains traveling between Oshawa and Toronto? So Elizabeth, that's yours.
Absolutely. We have already started with the commitment to 15 minutes during rush hour and 30 minutes during the regular time during the day. We're also having further discussions, and just recently there was $3.8 million that was committed to Durham for their transit, but we need to be looking through the $134 billion that will be invested into our province to our GO transit. We already have had discussions with Granville Anderson from Bowmanville and Curtis area and the mayors of Oshawa and of Curtis, who are looking at the extension of the GO train out to the Curtis area.
Okay, thank you very much. And we'll go up the table to Lauren Coe. Lauren, go ahead.
Well, Whitby-Oshawa residents wait for increased GO service, and yet we're waiting again. It was promised in 2011, it's promised again here in 2016. Always comes up during elections, doesn't it? And the 407 to open, they're being left with no option but to take the 401, even though the stretch between Brock Road and Brock Street is some of the deadliest stretch of highway in the region. More than 65% of the OPP's accident calls happen on that stretch of the highway. We had the 407 open and better GO service, we'd be saving lives. We've got to stop the excuses and get this done.
Okay, thank you very much. Stacey, go ahead.
As I said earlier, I've been taking transit for well over 25 years, and every time the train moves to stop east, it gets busier. So when it's going to be starting in Curtis, that means when it gets to Whitby, it'll be full. So more trains will help, but we have to look at how we're doing our transit in the area. And one of the things we can also do is bring jobs here so people don't have to do that commute. I spent decades waiting for a job out here, and I was looking at pay cuts just to take one out here that would allow me not to do that. Even with more trains, you're still at minimum 2 hours round trip on that train. I'd rather have 15 minutes and be home. So more trains, yes, they'll help. Going further, it'll still make it busier here in Whitby and Oshawa. We already have people from Curtis and Bowmanville driving here. So we have to look at other solutions, and putting business here is one of the best ones.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, Nikki?
Please read the question one more time.
I will, yes. Okay, as housing prices have increased over the past number of years in Toronto, more and more families are turning to Durham to raise their families. Whitby-Oshawa is home to a large number of professionals who commute into Toronto each day for work. As a result, the trains are regularly standing room only. If elected, will you be an advocate at Queen's Park to reduce congestion on trains traveling between Oshawa and Toronto?
If I say yes, is that adequate? You're reading my biography. I am a professional that is a commuter that stands on trains and waits. We absolutely need more GO service. There's no question that we have to keep people moving. If we don't keep the region moving, we don't create economic good. But I say that with a grain of salt because the Liberal government solution to that is to sell off hydro to fund it, and that is a terrible mistake.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, Elizabeth, comment?
I do have a comment, and it's the further feedback that we need to be having dialogue and looking at the lands once the 407 412 do open up, and look at bringing employment into our community. So the actual movement of people is that their professions are here within our community as well too. So we need to be working together as partners.
Okay, thanks very much. Okay, Stacey?
I just have a comment to Ms. Lundquist. There was a funding proposal put forward in, I believe, 2014 or 13 for transit funding by the Liberal government that did not involve selling Hydro One, and the NDP dismissed it outright without providing comments to how to make it work. So you had your chance, and now we're selling Hydro One. Maybe if you'd said yes then, it might have worked out better.
Okay, thank you. Nikki, did you have a comment?
Oh, I sure do.
Okay.
So it's fallacious again. We have if this, then that, and that's absolutely false. And so, I haven't seen the 2013-2014 plan, and if you provide it to me, I'd be happy to give you a detailed response.
All right, thank you very much. Okay, I think we will move on to the next question then. And Lauren Coe, this question is yours. I'll read it out here. It's one from the audience. It says, my children and I have moved to the area in 2005 and were told the Pickering nuclear generator was going to close in 2015. Now the government wants to keep it open until 2025. If elected, what will you ensure, what will you do to ensure our safety in the case of a nuclear accident?
Well, there's two parts to the safety aspect. The regulatory aspect for safety rests in part with the federal government, the provincial government, and the region of Durham. And in the case of the region of Durham, we've already effected an emergency management plan, and we've put in place a distribution of K1 pills as well as a robust public education aspect, and we've done that in collaboration with the province of Ontario, and it's regularly monitored by the federal government in terms of its compliance. All aspects of that plan, based on the public engagement that we've had and the feedback, also from one of the standing committees of the region, has indicated that those steps are meeting the expectations of residents that are in that area. And there's an ongoing evaluative process on a 6-month basis by the emergency management manager within the region of Durham in collaboration with the province of Ontario.
Okay, thank you very much. Stacey?
I was so hoping for this question. I've spent considerable time going through Durham's nuclear response plan, the provinces. I recently attended the region's Durham Nuclear Health Committee. During that committee, I referred to Whitby as a safety dead zone because there's only a 10-kilometer radius out of each plant. We are smack dab in the middle, and we're not on anybody's plan. We have to order the KI pills, which only protect your thyroid. And if you order them today, it will take 6 weeks before you get them. There is no depository where you can go and get them. You have to order them. While the plants have upgraded their safety and have practiced and have their evacuation plans, there is no comprehensive evacuation plan for us. There is none. Zero. In November, the Durham region put a proposal or put a motion to talk to the province about increasing transparency, providing reports, and extending the danger zone, the primary zone, to include us. They haven't even looked at it yet.
Okay,
the
thank
ministry.
you. Stacey? Okay, moving down the table. Nikki, go ahead.
Thank you. I am intrigued to hear Mr. Coe talk about the safety plan because many people that I speak to know nothing about it. But more importantly, people who are apparently a part of the safety plan, like bus drivers, say things to me like, I won't be there, I'll be gone, and so we have a safety plan without talking to the people who are actually going to affect the plan itself. That's no plan at all. So I agree with Ms. Ledbetter on this entirely.
Okay, thank you. Elizabeth, go ahead.
Thank you very much. And first of all, the control within the nuclear component is the federal, and that's the Atomic Energy Control Board. But the other relationship is the area that has been identified by Ms. Ledbetter with the zones that are outside both of the nuclear plants with that 10-kilometer radius. Yes, we do fall outside of that, but the emergency plan that has been set into place has been directed to those specific areas. We are working forward and moving forward and working together with the Darlington and with the nuclear plants to move forward within the nuclear sector to ensure that, especially with the safeguards that need to be in place and that are in place because they have to be in place with the federal government, that we need to work together and ensure that this plan goes forward within the province.
Okay, thanks very much. Stacey, you had a comment?
When I was at that the Health Safety Committee for Nuclear, the representative from the ministry indicated that the PNURP, the Provincial Nuclear Emergency Response Plan, is being torn apart. And then the Durham region counterpart said that the DNURP, the Durham Nuclear Energy Emergency Response Plan, is not going to be changed until the PNURP is done.
Okay. Any other comments? None? Okay. Moving on here, and Stacey, this will be your question to open with. This is another one about owning a home in the region of Durham here. It says, home ownership is a dream for many Ontario families. However, saving for a down payment is among the biggest obstacles to home ownership for those families. One of the barriers is the land transfer tax. In 1996, the government introduced a land transfer tax rebate for first-time home buyers. Right now, the maximum rebate that a person can receive is $2,000. Unfortunately, in the current housing market, the average first-time home buyer in Whitby-Oshawa is still paying $3,360, even with a rebate driven by the cost of housing. If elected as MPP, would you work to ensure that the first-time home buyers' land transfer tax rebate better reflects home prices in Ontario? And Stacey, that's your question.
Absolutely. I think the land transfer tax is being used as a money grab, and it can sometimes be a full impediment to new homeowners, even with a rebate. Rebate of $2,000 when you bought a $400,000 home and paid that land transfer tax, and that'll pay maybe your moving costs. I would also be for reversing what the Liberals did about allowing municipalities to increase the land transfer tax. I don't think municipalities should be able to do that. So definitely we would make the rebate match more with what you paid. Thank you.
Okay, thanks very much. And moving down the table, Nikki?
Thank you. So my understanding is that the government has kiboshed the idea that there will be municipal land transfer taxes as of December. The reality for people, especially young people who are looking at first-time home ownership, is that it's out of reach. There's no question about that. Is a small difference, in the land transfer tax going to make a difference to them? It very well may, but realistically, we are far better served by taking our energies and ensuring that our young people have good jobs, that they have, that they have the kind of jobs that they can support households and families. And so, I think that perhaps we can expend our energy in better ways.
Okay, thanks very much. Okay, Elizabeth.
Thank you, and Nikki is correct. It was turned down by the Minister of Municipal Affairs that the land transfer tax was not going to be a component that gave the ability for municipalities to be able to add additional tax. The only place that has that set into place is the City of Toronto, but I couldn't agree more that taking a look right now within our debt ratio, we're looking for every $100, it's $164 that a person actually owes. So we need to be looking at ways and means to support, and that's by good jobs, it's by bringing in economic development within our community, it's by investing into our community and looking at ways that we can work with our municipalities, our provincial government, and federal government for an economic plan.
Okay, thank you very much. And Lauren Coe?
Well, the Progressive Conservative Party of Ontario is already working with municipalities and continues to work with municipalities, looking at opportunities for families to succeed. And in terms of the suggestion of a tax rebate program is something that we would evaluate in terms of the policy options and take it forward in discussion in our March policy forum.
Okay, thank you very much. Any other comments on that question? No? Okay. Another one from the audience here. This is a little bit wide open, but I'm going to read it anyways because I think it's a topic. It just simply reads my question. When will the candidate stand up against racism in our region, i.e. the region of Durham, City of Whitby? And that one actually goes to Nikki. That's yours out of the chute. Wouldn't you know?
So when will we stand up? I'm already standing up. This is what I do for a living. I stand up every day and I say, we don't live in a province that is free of discrimination. We have issues with gender discrimination. We have issues with racial discrimination. We have issues with all kinds of discrimination. So if you want to know when I'll stand up, I will stand up today, I will stand up yesterday, and I will stand up tomorrow. I will stand up every day until this is a non-issue in our country.
Very good. Okay, Elizabeth, go ahead.
Thank you, and it's one that I think that we teach all our kids as well too. It's about acceptance. But as for, and having had dialogue with the gentleman, I know he's in the room here, it has to actually do with hiring practices and the ability of not having discrimination within a hiring practice is one that we may have to make sure, especially with our human resources between both our municipal governments at the region and at the local government, that isn't something that is not in place.
Okay, thank you very much. Mr. Coe?
Well, as the chair of the Partnership Council on Diversity and Immigration at the region, I've been the champion of inclusiveness for the past 6 years. Through all sectors of our community, all sectors of our riding, to the extent that I've led the development of a community development plan that's been informed by 19 multicultural groups across the region of Durham to reflect their input and structure that community development plan. One of the aspects of that community development plan is to deal with some of the aspects of racism. So I've been a long-standing champion overall of inclusiveness in our region and in the riding.
Okay, thank you very much. And Stacey?
I don't think I've ever not stood up against racism. And I was struck quite recently by how deep it can run and from where it can come from. My church is putting together a committee to bring a family here from Syria. And I was talking in a coffee shop with another friend. I was saying how excited I was, and this was a really great idea. And a gentleman at another table leaned over and said, "Why are you bringing those people here?" And I just looked at him and I said, "What do you mean those people? They're just like you and me. They deserve a better place. They deserve to come here. We have the space. We can do this. Like, I don't understand your hostility." And he's like, "Well, there's enough of that type of people here." And I pressed him and I said, "What do you mean by that type of people?" he says, well, they're not white. And I said, well, news for you. Most of the world isn't white. And we have a bad reputation here. People call us Whitby. And that's something that we need to work towards as a whole community to put an end to that. Thank you.
Okay, thanks. Nikki, you had a comment?
I just wanted to observe, Ms. Roy said, we have to make sure that we don't have this in our hiring practices. Well, if you don't, you've missed the boat, because that's been the law for a really long time. And, I can give you a lawyer to consult on that topic if you really need one.
All right, thank you very much. Any other comments? No, we're moving on here. Okay. This is one, sounds like it might have been authored by a young student out of university looking for a job. There's lots of them, I know. If you're elected, what will you do to help offset the job losses in Whitby-Oshawa, and also to help provide job opportunities for young adults graduating from university and college programs? And Elizabeth, that is your question to start with.
Great question. Recently, we just made investment into the Durham Workplace Authority and gave assistance to have them review the job analysis of our employers and employees across Durham. They're working collectively together with our post-secondary institutions. But as a government, we're also looking at a renewed strategy to drive innovative youth investments. So we're looking at youth job connections, youth job links, and we're looking at ways that we can help over 150,000 young Ontarians to focus on skills development, labor market connections, and entrepreneurship. We're committed to working together, not only with that, it's also coming out of their post-secondary, it's looking at their OSAP. And many kids are burdened nowadays with the amount that they're coming out with, that we need to be we are setting into place where they are having a maximum student loan, and most of it is grants.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, Mr. Coe, your answer, your name. Would you like me to reread the question, Lauren? Or you okay? All
I
right.
heard the question.
Okay.
The unemployment rate of the youth in the riding, in particular in Oshawa, it varies between 7.5 and 8% in the Oshawa area. And I've been working with Core 21 and some of the Innovation Lab and some of the other organizations to help with the skill enhancement to make some of the youth a little bit more marketable overall. But there's work already underway in the riding with other community organizations and universities and community colleges to help prepare these youth be not only more marketable, but to prepare them to be innovators and entrepreneurs within our community. So supplementing the Core 21 and the Innovation Lab is work underway with the Spark Center as well. And the collaboration with both chambers here, the Whitby Chamber as well as the Oshawa Chamber. So taking together, this is a body of work designed to help youth, unemployed youth, 18 to 25, succeed in our community. A lot of this initiative lies with Councillor Kerr in the city of Oshawa. Thank you.
I'm sorry, I'm drifting here. We were out of time. My apologies. Thank you, Mary. Appreciate that. Extra timekeeper out the front throws a bun at me if I get off track here. So we'll move down to Stacey. Go ahead, Stacey.
One of the biggest burdens that our students face is their student debt. For some of them, it can be $40,000. I've always believed that if we're going to educate our youth, then we shouldn't burden them with this huge debt at the end. And the Green Party, both provincially and federally, is for eliminating student debt or eliminating tuition. Pick one. The other thing that we've been doing, we've been driving our youth into skilled labor. Everybody needs to do skilled labor. They come out of their program and there are no apprenticeship jobs. There's nowhere for them to go and get their red seal. Even with OPG, which is one of the largest employers in this area, if you don't know somebody there, you're not getting in. So I would like to see the creation of a better apprenticeship program that provides tax incentives to the businesses that provide apprenticeships, and a further tax incentive if you hire them after they've completed their apprenticeship. That's how we need to go. We also need to make the area more industry friendly.
I'm going on time here now, Stacey. There we go. Yeah, sure. I know. Beat me up. Okay, and we're moving down to Nikki.
Again, I'm not even clear what the question is, but I've just decided to answer whatever I want to answer anyway. So
Do you want me to reread
fine.
the question? Do you want the question reread?
No, it's
No?
fine,
Okay.
really. It's really fine. I'm going to agree that, student debt is a problem. The average student is graduating with $27,000 of debt for undergrad. I graduated with $83,000 of debt from law school. We have to do better. We have to give our students sort of learning and earning opportunities so that they can work and earn. We're going to link, we have to link students and educational institutions and businesses and create those kinds of opportunities for students. We have a real problem that we're ignoring. We are creating a generation of have-nots. We are creating a generation of students that, beyond having debt, are the fastest growing group of food bank users in the country. We need to address the problem, and we need to address it now.
Okay, thanks very much. Okay, 30-second comment, Elizabeth? Go
Yeah,
ahead.
I'd just like to make comment to Mr. Coe's comment about the supporting of strategies. It was the PCs that voted against the 2015 budget for the $250 million youth strategy over the 2 years in Ontario's renewed youth job strategy. So I don't know how this is going to resonate back into our community. If your party doesn't support it, how can you support it locally?
Okay, any other comments on that? Mr. Coe, did you want to make a comment on that or not?
Well, our party engages and listens to the community, and we're continuing that process with the youth in our community, plus the innovators like Core 21 and Innovation Lab and the universities and colleges. We continue to listen.
Okay, thanks very much. And believe it or not, the next question that came up was to do with the Spark Center, so on and so forth. So I'll read it out here, and actually, Lauren, this will be your question to start with. The Whitby Chamber of Commerce, working in partnership with the Town of Whitby and the Spark Center, asks the province to consider investing in the creation of a business support hub. This cluster in the redeveloped Land Registry Office will create an ecosystem that supports innovation and entrepreneurism like no other in Durham region, firmly placing Whitby along Ontario's innovation corridor. How do you plan to support entrepreneurism contributing to employment and economic development opportunities in Whitby?
Well, again, as is the mayor's representative on the board of the Chamber of Commerce, I supported the Business Innovation Hub, and I also supported it at council. So going forward, and as the representative of the Progressive Conservative Party, I will be supporting it again in our policy forums going forward.
Okay, very good. All right. And Stacey, go ahead.
I'm very much in support of private and public efforts to create more jobs and to create a business hub. I just want to make sure that it's just not another layer of bureaucracy, that it's just not another layer of red tape, and that it's open to everyone, that it's not a matter of who you know. So I'll be watching this very closely. As I said earlier, the Green Party are a bunch of small business people, and they've gone out there and they've made their niche, and they're always trying to help others. And Green Party members have the highest rate of apprenticeship programs within their businesses than any other target group. So innovation, creation, being creative here in our community so that our youth can stay in our community and not have to go to Toronto or over to Hamilton or out west should be a priority for us all. I just want to make sure it's not just another layer of red tape and another layer of fees.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, Nikki, go ahead.
Thank you. It's pretty clear to me that Whitby has a bit of a job crisis for our youth, and obviously we really need to find ways to create sort of a better economic situation here in this community. So, a business innovation hub that creates opportunity is something that I think everybody here should support. Realistically, though, I take Stacey's point in the sense that we're very good at hearing particular voices. We hear the voices of business and we hear the voices of government, but we also need to hear the voices of the students. We need to hear the voices of the people in the community to make sure that we're responding to their needs as well. And so, we can talk about these things, but without the plans in place for transit and the other things that support it, it's just talk.
Okay, thank you very much. Elizabeth, go ahead. Floor is yours.
One of the things about Ontario is their greatest strength is its people, and that includes the youth and our students. And the ability to be able to have supported this hub, but also to have supported 360 incentives and Spark Centre to come into our community was a great driver for our economy, and one that will move forward as the 360 does open up. The Liberal government is supportive to investing into our youth. They're supportive, and then we showed that within our 2015 budget, where we set aside the $250 million into a youth strategy. We need to have the dialogues with the post-secondary institutions, and we are having those dialogues. It is about innovation, and innovation is a part of our platform of getting people into jobs, getting people moving in our community, and it's also part of our investment of our $134 billion that will be coming forward over the next 10 years to help to support innovations such as what is happening with the hubs.
Okay, thank you very much. Stacey, did you have a comment there? No? Okay, you look like maybe you did there. Okay, and we will go, actually, Stacey, this will go to be your question. I think we got through that one. So if energy prices are controlled by a provincial regulator, why would energy prices rise after the sale of Hydro One? Interesting. Stacey, what do you think?
Because they're selling Hydro One and they're losing control of Hydro One. So regulating prices is going to be becoming more difficult. And they also want to make sure that Hydro One has the revenue to improve things like power plants and that sort of thing. So what we're looking at here is you and me, funding Hydro One and funding their innovation and creation. So not only are we going to pay through our taxes, we're going to pay through our hydro bills. So we're going to be double dipped here. And our hydro bills, we've estimated that the average household hydro bill, once the sale go through, will increase by 20%. 20%. That's a huge jump. We can buy power cheaper. We can buy water power from Quebec at 4 cents to 5 cents a kilowatt. Much cheaper.
Okay, thanks very much, Stacey. Okay, moving down to Nikki. Go ahead, Nikki.
Thank you. This is the perfect question for a law dork like me. Because the answer is you look at Bill 91. So Bill 91 removes all oversight from hydro. No accountability anymore to the Auditor General, the Financial Accountability Office, no Freedom of Information requests. You take those things away and you are going to get increased pricing because there's no check on the power of a company to do these things. I would challenge Ms. Roy and anyone else who is for the sale of our sort of greatest asset, in my view, to look at every jurisdiction where we've moved to private power. Every single jurisdiction has incredible increases in their hydro bills.
Okay, thank you very much. Elizabeth, go ahead.
I'd actually like to challenge that, but with the rating to have the comparator, but the broadening of the ownership of Hydro One is one that will improve the long-term performance, and it's one that very proudly we can say that we don't have coal-burning plants anymore. It's one about our environment, but it's about the Ontario Energy Board sets the rates. The Ontario Energy Board sets the rates for Whitby Hydro as well. Submission is made to the Ontario Energy Board for our rates to be approved to be set. They can actually say, no, you cannot raise your rates. There could be something specifically that could be asked for, and the answer could be no from the Ontario Energy Board. And as for the oversight, Hydro One will be regulated now by the Ontario Business Corporations Act, the Ontario Securities Act, and the Ontario Energy Board. So we have regulators in place, and Ontario will be the primary shareholder at 40%, the single shareholder. No shareholder can have more than 10%.
Okay, thanks, Elizabeth. Okay, Lauren, do you have the microphone? Go ahead.
By the contrary, when Hydro One is sold, consumers will have nowhere to turn. Nowhere to turn. If the new owners raise hydro rates even higher, we'll have no choice but to pay. There are no other power companies that do what Hydro One does. 97% of Ontario's power comes through Hydro One. Let's make sure we get let's make sure we get energy right in Ontario, not sign away control, hope for the best. Hope is not a strategy, is it?
Okay, thank you very much. Want to respond to that? Yeah. Go ahead, Elizabeth.
I think there's a little bit of confusion here. It's been stated by Patrick Brown on May 5th, 2015. Earlier this year, Patrick Brown said, "I generally believe that the private sector can do a better job than the public sector. I generally think market conditions would be helpful for a lot of government agencies."
Okay, Lauren, you go, and then Nick, you go ahead. And then, okay, go ahead, Lauren.
Well, the Ontario PC Party wants an energy policy that will result in competitive and affordable prices. Isn't that what we want? So that we can be more productive, get people back to work, and keep more money in the wallets of Ontario's families. That's what it's about.
Okay, Nikki, go ahead.
I'm having some problem with that logic because it's a monopoly, but that's fine. I'm also having problem with Miss Roy's statement too, because, you know, I'm not a product of new math, but it seems to me that when you get rid of a majority of control, you don't have control.
Okay, Stacey, go ahead.
The Ontario Energy Board, like the National Energy Board, is a patronage-appointed board. They have said no once in the last 15 years.
Okay, thank you very much. Any other comments on the charged issue of power in Ontario? None? Okay, all right. Moving along here. Okay, here's another one. It's another energy question. And this actually, Nikki, this is your question to start. What is your position on future expansion of wind turbines and solar as an electricity source? I'll leave it at that. There's another tag on here, but it's kind of the same thing. So what is your position on future expansion of wind turbines and solar as an electricity source for Ontario?
So, you know, I think it's fair to say that the NDP supports the use of renewable energy. I think that's not going to come as a surprise to anybody. You know, the problem is we've been fed a false line, which is we can't afford renewable energy. But the difficulty is that you can't look at what we've paid for renewable energies and say, oh, you know, that's out of reach for us, because the problem that we've had is frankly the government's mismanagement of the energy file. The Auditor General says we pay $9.2 billion more for renewable energy than we should have because of political interference from this party. So, you know, do we support renewable energy? Absolutely.
Okay, thank you very much. Elizabeth, go ahead.
Absolutely support of the renewable energy. It's one that even looking at how we have handled with the coal plants and the removal of the coal plants, it's about our environment. It's about investment into a healthy environment, and one that even as a healthcare provider that we need to be looking at how we can make our environment more healthy for our future generations.
Okay, thank you very much. Lauren Coe, go ahead.
Well, the Ontario PC Party is committed to ensuring a reliable, cost-effective, and environmentally friendly electricity system. We're open to alternate forms of energy as long as they fit these criteria. What we don't support is, my colleague just referred to, as the shocking $9.2 billion more than necessary being paid for green energy contracts because of the political manipulations of the government.
Okay, thank you. Stacey, go ahead.
I fully support green energy. Shocking, I know.
Yeah. No pun intended, right? Yeah.
Problem with the way green energy, windmills and solar have been done in this province to date is that it's been done poorly. It's been done without consultation of communities. They've just started putting up windmills, and people get upset. It needs to be done in consultation. We also need to be innovators. Out of COP21 in December, it is estimated that there's going to be $9 trillion of business for clean, green technology, specifically on greener energy. We need to be getting a piece of that. 6 years ago in this province, there was a gentleman out of the Windsor area who had developed a new process for making solar panels and making the glass less corrosive and less susceptible to scratches. He approached the provincial government, Dalton McGuinty. He said no. A German company bought it. It now employs 2,700 people. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Stacey. Any other comments? Yeah, go ahead, Nikki.
My comment's really brief, and it's only because Ms. Roy has said it twice. She said, coal, coal. I just want to be entirely clear. Nobody at this table wants coal. Nobody. Nobody is asking for it. Nobody wants it. It's not on.
I just want to sort of pile on the coal thing. The reason we don't have coal is that Gordon Miller beat Dalton McGuinty to a pulp over closing those coal plants. Gordon Miller's a Green Party member. Gordon Miller went to the Ontario Medical Association and said, help me, because you know what this is doing to people's lungs. You know what it's doing with smog days. That's why we don't have coal. He had to pound it into the provincial government to stop those plants. Thank you.
Okay, go ahead, Elizabeth.
I'd just like to ask the question, what's your plans then?
Go ahead, Stace.
Well, our plan is to start manufacturing our turbines and our solar plants in communities like Whitby so that they're built here and directed here and provide the energy here. One windmill can power 600 houses. Okay? So look at Whitby. We've got the potential. We have a great deal of sunshine. We actually have a great deal of wind, especially down by the lake. We have the potential to build them here and to install them here, and that's what we need to start doing. We don't need to be spending $13 billion to refurbish Darlington. Let's spend $2 billion on creating the environment to build renewable energy.
Okay, sorry, go ahead. All right. Any other comments? I'm going to have to pay bigger attention to my time guy here. He was just waving around here. I know, that's right. He's gunning for me. No other comments on that issue? Okay. All right, Elizabeth, this is yours. This has got a few barbs in it, but I'm going to read it just like it is, and then it'll stir up some discussion here. So, as the Liberal candidate, how do you account for your Liberal Party's $1 million under-the-table payment to the Secondary School Teachers Union after they went on strike for 5 weeks, jeopardizing the education system in Ontario? So that's verbatim. Probably some clarification required. You go ahead.
So I'm not going to give comment to that, but what I'm going to do is give comment to having sat at negotiations. I've sat across the table from OSSTF. I've sat across the table from ETFO. I've sat across the table on the other side from ONA. And when we've gone to provincial bargaining, we need to give recognition of the transition, the change that ended up happening from going from local bargaining to provincial bargaining. The cost of what was taking place, it needed to support within the teachers in bargaining. There was a cost associated to this. Did it cost more to negotiate? No, it did not cost more to negotiate with the support to the teachers union. We need to be respectful towards our teachers. We need to be respectful towards. Don't shake your head, Mary. Yeah. But we need to be respectful towards our employees, and I've been at the doors and been hearing about this, and this is one that, did you show me the red card already?
Yeah, it's not yet, but he's ready, yeah.
But it's one that we have to be respectful towards those who are educating our youth.
Very good. Okay, because that question was directed to the Liberal candidate, I'll just go up the table for a comment. Lauren, did you have a comment on that other comment that I wrote? It was kind of a question regarding the purported $1 million payment under the table to the Ontario Teachers Federation.
Well, it is unconscionable to begin. $1 million is unconscionable. What we're focused on is the need to link education to employment, is one of the earlier questions. The high unemployment rate in Oshawa in particular. The skills gap is costing Ontario's economy $24.3 billion a year and $3.7 billion in foregone tax revenue. Employers shouldn't have to search beyond Ontario's borders to find the right candidate for the job, and young people shouldn't have to leave Ontario to find work. But when you think about $1 million being paid under the table, it's unconscionable.
Okay, thank you very much. Go ahead, Stacey.
Full disclosure, my youngest daughter's a high school teacher. Okay? I was very disturbed by that payment, especially the timing of that payment. The question for me is, and this is going to be a rather controversial question, how much of that $1 million went back in campaign contributions? That's the question I keep asking. Haven't gotten an answer on it yet. Thank you.
Okay, very good, thanks. Nikki, go ahead.
Thank you. I will be really brief. I think that the answer to this is the concern that people have with it is really about transparency and accountability in public spending, and that's been a real problem for this government. You know, Mr. Coe is speaking about issues that I don't think are actually relevant to the question. This is about public school education. We're not talking about a skills gap. We're talking about something very specific. This government has made a terrible habit of spending money foolishly, frankly, and hiding it. You know, I don't think it's a lot to ask for a government to be transparent and upfront with the expenditure of its monies.
Okay. Thank you very much. Go ahead. No comment? Okay, I thought you had a comment there, so that's fine. Okay, I have one more question here that I can read, and then I think we're going to go into the 2-minute closing statement. So this, I have to direct this to Lauren because it is directed to Lauren. So here we go. This would be, okay, it says your leader, Patrick Brown, has said he is willing to look at all issues without a partisan lens. If it's good for Ontario, it's good for the PCs. Therefore, can you commit that you say and your party will support the Ontario Retirement Pension Plan?
What I have said is that our view of the Ontario Retirement Pension Plan is that it's a huge new payroll tax that will force businesses out of jobs and will reduce the take-home pay of workers and their families. And when you have energy prices that aren't competitive, when you have red tape that harms business, and the Ontario Retirement Pension Plan only makes matters worse and creates more uncertainty at a time when we don't need it. However, at the same time, what we've indicated in other areas is that we will continue to consult with experts in particular fields, gather that information, and continue to, with that consultation process, at our March policy convention overall. But our policy and position on the Ontario Retirement Pension Plan is clear.
Okay, thank you very much. Stacey, do you want to comment?
A comment, and it's a very personal comment because I personally don't trust Patrick Brown. Patrick Brown spent a lot of time in the Harper Conservative government, and that is something that concerns me. I really wanted Christine Elliott to get that leadership. I think had she won that leadership, the Progressive Conservatives would have formed the next provincial government. So I think we need to see a little more about Patrick Brown before I assess anything that he says right now. Okay. I want to see him in action.
Okay, very good. Nikki, any comments?
Of course.
Sure. Of course.
But I'm not going to address the pension plan issue because I've already spoken on that. I'm going to address the nonpartisan lens issue. You know, every political party should be working with the other political parties to do things that make sense for the people of this province. That's not rocket science, you know, it's really basic common sense. And there's got to be a time where we put these issues aside and say, you know, what works for the people here.
Okay, all right, very good. Okay, Elizabeth, go ahead.
I completely agree with Nikki, and it's one that we have to collectively look across as we present options and solutions to look at how we can work together. To hear that. So I basically have been under a little bit of the lens here as being sitting government, and the one in having that ability that to be able to have an argument back, what's an alternative? What's a solution? What's your plan? How can we work together? Because I think collectively all of us, and all of us who are up here at front, are here to represent our community or to be a part of our community or to be able to make decisions for our community. But it's all with the best interest for the future of our community.
Okay, thanks very much. All right, well, we're going to move on to the closed comments now. These are 2 minutes, so Mr. Timekeeper, if you can just, if you see me drifting again, you know what to do, yell out, or Mary will help out here, whatever. So, and what we do is we do this in a reverse order, okay? So we actually started with Nikki, so we are actually, this time around, we're going to start with Stacey. So Stacey, you have 2 minutes for closing comments.
Well, it's been a very interesting evening. There have been some great questions and some touchy questions. And as you can see, sometimes we agree, sometimes we don't. And I want to echo something that Nikki said. The Green Party has tried to be nonpartisan on many occasions. And we usually end up getting, stabbed in the back. So we're a little shy about being nonpartisan. But the one thing I'm not shy about personally is standing up for my community. As I said in my opening, this by-election isn't going to change anything. But you have the opportunity to put somebody in the Ontario legislature who will have the opportunity to speak out for any policy, anything that's put forward in the legislature. I would have that opportunity to speak directly to it and directly to how it affects this community. I've been an advocate for women's issues, for mental health issues, for poverty, for people searching for the best job that they can possibly have with the skills they have. I stand up in this community every day for those who are on the outskirts of our community. I will stand up for you and speak for you the loudest and the best to my ability. I have no problem throwing my weight around. I get things done, and I'm very tenacious. I'm very stubborn. I keep poking at people, as Lauren knows, because I do that to him on council all the time. So this is your opportunity to do something bold. This is your opportunity to put a voice in the Ontario legislature that is for you and for you alone. On February 11th, I hope you want to be bold and vote for me, Stacey Ledbetter. Thank you.
Okay, Stacey, thank you very much. Okay, Lauren, you are next, sir. Thank you very much.
And thank you very much to the Whitby Chamber of Commerce for organizing this debate, and to all the other candidates for joining me here this evening. It's been my pleasure to carry Christine Elliott's torch during this by-election campaign. The people of Whitby-Oshawa deserve a strong, experienced representative at Queen's Park to carry on Christine's legacy on behalf of our community and to stand up against costly Liberal policies. And that's exactly what I promised to do. For years, I've worked tirelessly for Whitby and Durham Region as your councillor, and I will do the same as your MPP. I'm running because in order to have the best health care, education, and more inclusive employment, we need a robust economy. And that means being responsible with taxpayers' dollars. The Ontario PC Party will work together with the people of Whitby-Oshawa to develop a vision for Ontario that works again, one that provides the world's best social and health services, and one that leads Canada's economy, one that doesn't waste your hard-earned taxpayer dollars. Together on February the 11th, we can send a strong message to Kathleen Wynne and the Ontario Liberal Party that the province is moving in the wrong direction, I promise to continue to listen, and I will take what I've heard at the doors back to Queen's Park, serving as a strong voice for the people of Whitby-Oshawa and for accountability. And I will always bring our local, shared perspectives to the provincial discussion. We will support what is in the best interest of Ontario. As a result, we're going to be looking for sensible, pragmatic solutions to the issues in this province and in this riding. We're going to look to the people who are involved at the ground floor, yourselves, and hear what they have to say. I hope on February the 11th and in the advanced poll, I can count on your support. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Elizabeth, you're next.
I want to thank you all again for being here tonight. We have covered a lot of ground, but I want to remember one thing in particular. The other candidates have been critical of the government, and that's fair. That's their jobs. But we all know from the work we do, and as parents, if we criticize, you need to offer an alternative. It's a difference between being constructive and being destructive. But the other parties don't have alternative plans because they know the Liberal plan is working. Our economy is leading Canada. Unemployment is below the national average. We used to have more than 50 smog days in a summer, and now we have 0. The other parties would have let the car companies fail. They would have kept us burning coal well into the future. Instead of investing in people and infrastructure, they would have focused on austerity, prolonging the recession, and making hard times even harder on those struggling to get by. As I said in my opening statement, those aren't the values of Whitby-Oshawa. We support each other, we invest in each other, we strive to create fair communities where we can all fulfill our potential. And we want to leave an even better community for our children and grandchildren. The Liberal government has a strong plan that is working, and Whitby-Oshawa deserves a strong voice in government fighting every day for a better economy, for local jobs, for everything we believe in as a community. I can be that strong voice. On February 11th, please vote for the vision of Whitby-Oshawa that most aligns with your own. I believe that the more you learn about what the different parties have to offer, the more you'll find only the Liberal Party truly reflects the values that makes our communities great. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, Nikki, the floor is yours.
Thank you. We've covered some really important issues tonight, and I appreciate given the opportunity to be here. I actually came in here hoping to be positive, to say, the things that we could build, because I actually think we can do better than what we're doing. It's just really hard when a Liberal government is defending its terrible choices on our behalf. So this by-election is important. It's actually really, really important, because Stacey's right, we aren't changing government, but we can send this government a message that we expect better than what they're doing. We have seen tens of thousands of jobs just bleed out of this community. We lead the country in youth unemployment, and it's not 7% in Oshawa, frankly. It's upwards of 20%, sometimes as low as 15, but it's not 7, We have 6,000 seniors waiting for long-term care beds. We have 2,000 people sitting on home care lists. This is not dealing with our priorities, the things that matter to us, And so when I hear her say, these are our values, these are not my values. I'm going back to Hydro One, and I feel like I've done that a lot because I'm doing it because it matters, and it matters a great deal. Ramming the sail down our throats, despite the fact that millions of people don't want it, the fact that almost 200 municipalities have sent your government a clear message that this is a terrible mistake, that the business community doesn't want it, nobody wants it, but that's what we get. This sell-off is going to cause us even more difficulty. We're going to lose the revenue that's going to pay for hospitals, for seniors care, for transit, for roads, you name it. And the Liberal candidate is making a choice so far not to debate this. So let's remember what this is about, what this election is about. We can send in a candidate who is an advocate, who has a voice on the issues that matter to us. We should be electing the NDP.
Thank you, Nikki. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we're just about wrapped up here. I want to thank all the candidates up and down the table, and I apologize, Lauren, for that little timing slip, but I'll do a little better next time, I'm sure, whenever that is. And I want to thank the audience for being very respectful. I know sometimes passion takes over, and sometimes it's a little bit tough to kind of sit tight, but you guys were great. And I also want to remind anybody that's in the audience here that you can let your friends know that this will actually air this Thursday, January 28th at 8 p.m., and then it will cycle through several times, and if you check the Rogers TV website, you'll be able to get those times. So, and also thanks to the Whitby Chamber of Commerce for allowing me to spend some time with you tonight. That's always a great time, and thank you, Trace. All right, and you all have a safe trip home, and good luck to the candidates. Bye for now.